So, chaps, you invited Alastair second video.
Yeah, second video.
We done one.
See one a couple of years ago at least.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've forgotten actually what that was about. I know it's about you trying to jump off a bridge.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And obviously we've got to know each other quite well. You come on our MANUP camping trip the other, what was that, a month ago?
At least I say, yeah, brilliant, loved it, enjoyed it.
Yeah, but to watch you from when I first met you at the Cult Bar, it's like you've grown in confidence quite a lot.
I think it's, I'll be honest, I had a complete breakdown, which I wouldn't have described as such at the time. I just thought it was what I should be doing.
Yeah.
And I think sort of 3 and a bit years on, it's just taken me that long to feel more natural and feel myself.
Yeah.
But if you'd have asked me a year in, 2 years in, I'd have said that it's as good as I'm going to get.
Yeah.
Not realising that if I just gave it more time, I'd feel more normal and at ease again.
Yeah.
I think post, life falling apart and having a breakdown.
Because when was the big one where you tried to call it a day? How long ago was that?
Just over 3 years ago.
Well, okay.
I kind of thought that everything that was happening to me after that had all walked under the bridge.
Yeah.
Literally. I kind of felt like I was living in a bubble.
Yeah.
That it wasn't reality. It would burst. Don't put too much faith or effort into what's happening because it'll all fall apart again.
Yeah.
So it's taken me 3 years to it's taken me that time to begin to ditch those thoughts of actually this is what life can be now.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry that, this is just an interim phase where everyone's being nice to you and looking after you because of what you did. And actually it can't continue.
Yeah.
But it has. So I'm grateful it has. And so, I'm more at ease. I'm more myself, I suppose, and perhaps get a different self than I was previous to my breakdown. Who knows whether it was the self I was always supposed to be or not, but it's what I'm living now. So,
do you think people still look at you as a suicidal risk?
I would hope not.
Yeah. Sorry, that's quite a deep question.
Might know. I mean, suicide was always, from when I was 18.
Yeah.
Was going to be my answer.
Yeah.
And I tried it when I was 18 and that didn't work either. I'm shit at suicide.
It's probably a good thing.
But it was the ultimate control of, it is the only thing that I have complete control over and I will decide when I've had enough. So now, waking up, in the first year probably, waking up, shit, I'm still alive, is far less annoying and aggravating than waking up for 30 plus years thinking, am I going to have the courage to end it today?
Yeah.
Whereas now I don't wake up thinking anything either way. So I would hope people don't think I'm a risk anymore.
Yeah. Are you happy now?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Think so.
What is happiness?
I'm
at ease. I don't give 2 fucks about what anyone thinks of me or what's happening. I try to be a decent, nice person and help anyone out I can.
I can verify what you are. So
I'm just going to carry on as I am. I can't comprehend how I survived.
Yeah.
Because there's 3 things should have done me in that day and didn't.
You should be dead, in it, by what you said.
Yeah. And I don't need to process that. I don't need to find out. I don't need to worry about it. But it's why I joined MANUP and why I try and, do talks and help people and stuff is because I don't want anyone else to get to that point.
Yeah.
And if that's why I survived, then I'm glad and good for it. So that's why I'm still here.
But that's something what I do see more and more of, actually. It's just, especially blokes who have been at completely and utterly rock bottom. And you could say where you are on that bridge, that's like as low as you can pretty much get, isn't it, really? I find what I love is the rise of blokes who never want to see another bloke or woman get that low.
Yeah.
Ever made sense with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not trying to not help women to get that low, but I, statistically and I'm an openly gay bloke.
Yeah.
I've got 7 brothers.
Yeah.
I don't understand how women work. I've never lived with one. I've got any
Well, I'm a
sisters.
straight bloke, I still
So, my understanding is better with blokes, I guess. And I think women and men everyone personally needs a different approach, but I think, male, female need a different approach.
Yeah.
Not everyone within that spectre, you've got women with male thinking brains and men with female thinking brains, whatever. But if you're going to be very stereotypical and try to help, I think, if you can focus on, the biggest group that are trying and possibly the most misunderstood, then, and you have experience of that yourself. So that's what I've got down that line.
No, I agree with you. And I do think that men are now I think it is changing again. I think we came very, very close to looking at men as literally the bottom of the pile.
I think,
and just like if you're not willing to, men should talk, and if they're not willing to talk, then that's their fault, and not ask the question of actually why won't he talk to me?
I think it's because to the bottom of the pile, it's for so many years, but they don't need help because they're men. And how do we know how to be men? And what does that mean? And, the things you grow up with, the conditioning you have in life. And I think that, all of that conditioning and your mental health, as I see it, is the conditioning of life for how you grow up. It's how you process all the images of what you think you should be and how you compare yourself to everybody else.
Yeah.
And that is your mental health. It is, your reaction to how you should then be. And if you can't cope with that, you don't know what else to do.
Yeah. I think comparison is just such a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
I think comparing ourselves to other people, and trouble is social media and even other people we're telling everybody that they should be better. I think we've gone the other way. I think everyone should try at least to try and improve themselves the best they can, but know when they've hit the happiness bit. They don't need to keep pushing. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I think you need to. The everyone's biggest judgment of themselves is themselves.
Yeah,
and you have to know when just to be happy, when not to have to forge ahead because you need X, Y, Z, money, possessions, relationships, whatever. And I think what I've learned when, I lost everything. I started again literally with 1 pair of trousers and 2 shirts. That was it.
Yeah.
I had nothing from my previous life.
Yeah.
And now nothing really matters.
Yeah.
Not that I was never driven by money or possessions to begin with, but, actually when you've been as shit as you could ever be, you realise that, the people that you're friends with and those relationships you have and just the honesty.
Yeah.
Not just with those people, the hardest person to be honest with is yourself.
Yeah. No, yeah, without
and if you can just be happy and, forging ahead because life is an experience for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're learning from the moment we arrive to the moment we leave. But it doesn't mean to say you have to push yourself on that journey.
Yeah.
Just be content with where you are at this point in time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and this is why I'm a massive fan of helping people find solitude and what works for those. And I'm not on about solitude just sitting there like a prayer circle or candles. No, that's just like if you really enjoy going for a walk or steam engines or find something what just can force your brain to turn off for half an hour. I know, I'm adamant, I just don't think we're promoting that. And when people are seen of like going on a hike, it's like society's like, no, that's not good enough, that's selfish. You should be doing more.
I think it's not going to work for everyone.
Yeah.
But I think the people it does work for, and I'm one of them, I never thought after, my brothers clubbed together to try and find me when I was missing, and it's through their support and guidance that I'm here now. But I honestly never thought, certainly within the first couple of years, that they'd ever let me do that again.
Yeah.
Because even if they never said anything, the risk would be, well, he's going to take himself off to live in a forest again like he did before. We can't trust him. Yeah. So I'm very glad that they have let me do that I can just be at peace with myself. And it's not do nothing, maybe it's perceived as doing nothing, but what you're actually doing is just processing all that stuff in your head with a background. If you're not at peace, at least you're in a place that's at peace that can calm you back down to the level you need to cope with the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's good. I think that probably backs up. That's why I was about to, because I spoke to somebody else who tried to kill themselves. I spoke to loads of people who tried to kill themselves, thankfully they survived. And they said the one thing what they really struggled with was for like weeks, months, years afterwards, people were still hiding knives, still hiding pills, and it was like they were now the suicide guy.
Yeah,
and it's just like I'm past that. I'm never going to go back to that. Let me live.
I'm very lucky then, because the brother that I still live with, that took me in, there are some brothers who I think would be more of that opinion.
Yeah.
But the brother that I ended up with just said if he's going to go and go, he's going to go and go. He'll get up in the middle of the night and go. So I haven't had that sense of control. So I'm very lucky that I haven't felt that. I've also been overly honest.
Yeah.
Where, I'm now living in a place and I never was before. Everybody in the pub, I work in the pub, I drink in the pub, everywhere, everybody that knows me knows my story. I've not tried to hide it.
Yeah.
I decided it was something so massive that I did. I can't pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I can't brush it under the carpet and just say it was a small wobble or whatever. So everybody knows it can't be held. I kind of feel as if it can't be held over me if I'm that honest about it.
Yeah. But it's like that thing, isn't it? Yeah, it's just don't give anyone anything to have on you.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, because especially at the beginning when it was so raw, it was, and I feel not bad. I feel sort of overshared at the beginning, because in a way it was all I had to talk about.
Yeah.
I was just, completely honest. Yeah, this is what I did. This is why I'm here.
So how do you? Because actually now I've got to know you a fair bit more. How have you? Because now I know you more as Alastair, as a funny fucker.
Although we never have fucked, we should make that point.
Yeah, no, it's that. Maybe one day. But it's just like one of those things. What we're trying to say. How have you? That's part of your identity. The whole suicide thing isn't your identity.
It's part of my story.
Right. Okay.
I don't want it to. I think in the first year, I thought that's all my identity was, because I didn't think I'd get anything back again.
Yeah.
I still didn't, even though I never thought I was fixed. I don't think I was fixed now. I see, a bit like going to AA if you're an alcoholic.
Yeah.
It's always going to be there.
Yeah.
The judgment on myself that I am not good enough.
Yeah.
It's always going to be there. But now I have more tools to manage it. And now, because I think I've been so brutally honest with everybody, I now feel as if, whereas I couldn't before, but I now feel as if I could tell them, like, I'm having a struggling day. And some days I do struggle more than others.
Yeah.
But now I think everybody knows it's a lot easier for me to say I'm having one of those days.
Yeah.
And I don't think it'll ever get there again. But I know I now have the tools, and I have, I'm very lucky for my counsellor and people that have helped me. And I now would go to them. Before, I never would have done. Never, ever. I'd have never run the Samaritans. Every bridge I looked at had a Samaritan's poster on it. My brain thought, well, this is monitored in some way. People are looking out for this. I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it was a very planned thing. It wasn't. It wasn't a decision.
Well, data proves that, mate. And this is the thing I've taken a stick before. That the reason we don't talk about suicide that much as a charity, because I'm absolutely convinced data backs it up. Especially with Susie Bennett. Once a bloke's got that in his head, he probably will do it.
Yeah.
We're not the qualified people to deal with. We're not the qualified people to deal with. There's people who are really, really good at that. Hence why we try and change minds earlier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just, and again, like I was saying earlier, I think I said it in this video, but it's just, I get really pissed off with everyone's like mention talk because he's passing blame rather than saying, why won't you talk to me?
But what is talking? Talking doesn't just have to be talking.
Yeah.
Communication doesn't have to be talk. Just have to be talk. Communication is just getting a hobby or going somewhere, and even just that sitting in a mess room or whatever with a teacup that's never seen the washing up brush for the light of day with a group of blokes. That is still doing something and communicating and getting out And if that's if that's what you're struggling to do, meet other being open.
Yeah.
You don't have to just rattle off lots of words to talk.
Yeah.
Just the fact you're involving yourself out of your own ball of consciousness and worry and trouble and just expanding, that then leads to moving on and talking more. So, just getting somebody who's having a bad time, sitting them down and just talking to them isn't going to work if they're not in the place where that can happen.
Yeah, no, exactly that. Yeah, so I just think we should be helping blokes find themselves a little bit more.
Yeah.
Encouraging to do stuff what actually allows
giving them permission to do that.
Yeah, and that's
But what I've learned talking to people is, I didn't think I was worth spending that time on myself. With a wife, husband, kids, family, work, whatever. They are more. They should take more of myself and me, and more of my consciousness. And I haven't got anything left for myself. And that doesn't matter, but actually it does matter. And you have to give yourself permission to. It's not spoiling yourself. It's just keeping yourself sane and together.
Yeah. I mean, it's about having some sort of purpose as well, isn't it? And this is one thing, and I see this time and time again. I think a lot of people, they think their purpose is only being a dad, only being a husband, only being a partner. Actually, you are allowed to have more purpose than just that.
Yeah.
As well. Do you know what I mean? It's just like for me, the whole MANUP stuff is actually quite a bit of, it's quite a lot of therapy. It's stressful, but it is a therapy for me. But it kind of gives me purpose outside of the dads, outside of the husband. Rosie, well, sorry, she put me off. I don't know where I was going with that one. And that, so what are you doing?
But I think if you give yourself time for the purpose of just being you and whatever helps you, then actually you're so much better in all the other aspects of your life.
Exactly.
Because you've reset yourself to be able to be a dad, be a colleague, be a whatever, be a husband, be a spouse, because you've taken yourself out and just done some sort of reset or calm down, whether that's a hobby or solitude or whatever does it for you. Actually, that time is worth it because you'll end up being so much better in all the other aspects of your life.
I guess the whole thing is when people always say, they've just turned into a grumpy old so and so. Now, actually, I kind of get it. I don't think they've actually got grumpy at all. They've just kind of just tolerate less bullshit. Rosie, please don't knock everything over. They just tolerate less bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, it is about the whole finding. I don't want to go all woo-woo, but it is about just finding what cheers you up, what does your head in, and just being a hassle with it. And that's it. So just before we draw to a closing, because I just realised we're flying through anyway. That's good timing.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who might be thinking of calling it a day?
But nothing is as certainly for me. You feel as if you let yourself down. You let everybody down. Everybody is going to judge you. And then by doing what you're doing, you're actually helping yourself and you're actually helping everybody that knows you. Yeah, you probably realise that they're going to be very upset, but you kind of think that overall, once they realise that actually I've done them a favour.
Yeah.
But actually, in reality, nothing is ever as bad as you think.
Yeah.
And people, my experience is, I wrote 3 letters to people.
Yeah.
And the only thing I had to do when I realised I'd survived was talk to those 3 people eye to eye, not by text, not by letter, and give them permission to not want to know me anymore. Sorry I sent you that. Sorry you worried. It was a horrible thing to do. Not one of them, not anybody in my life has not wanted to know me anymore.
Yeah.
They've all had far more understanding. They've realised I was struggling when they didn't really know what. But then you find out a lot of them knew you were struggling, just didn't know what to do or how to help. Yeah. And actually, if you just let them in early, then they can help you through it. Because actually, nothing is as bad as you think, not anything you've done.
Yeah, I'd agree. And the amount of conversations in the hundreds, maybe thousands now, nothing really is that bad.
No, nothing matters.
Yeah, no, exactly that. And actually, I think the things what we think that matter actually isn't that.
No, it only matters to your head in that moment at that time. No. It doesn't matter in the magnitude that you think it does to everybody else who you think is judging you, and they're not. You're judging you.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. That was a good video.